Joy seekers, joy givers, anyone looking for an infusion of joy, you are at the right place. This is our Summer Infusion of Joy series. I am Deb McGregor, and it is my pleasure to welcome to today's show Bob Pranga, AKA Dr. Christmas. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Deb. It's what I don't know. Is it morning still? I don't know where we are.
Well, you know what? It doesn't really matter. I'm just thrilled that you're here. And for those of you that have not met Bob, I actually had the opportunity to meet him when I was part of a program called Produce You. This is, in my opinion, he kind of became my little rescue me out of my clothes dilemma, tell me what to wear person. And then I find out like he does all this Dr. Christmas stuff. And I'm like, hello. So thanks for being here today.
Oh, come on, Deb. It'll be fun. It's the middle of July. It's Christmas. That's what we're here for, right?
That is exactly why we're here. That is exactly why we're all here. So and for a lot of people, this is a thing. Yeah. So let's talk about Dr. Christmas. You, at some point in your career, realized that you enjoyed decorating Christmas trees, and you actually developed this whole persona around Dr. Christmas. Talk to us about this inspiration and how you got started.
Well, you know, what's really funny about this is I have to preface everything by saying I make a lot of fun about this because everybody thinks that there's this huge universal technique that, oh my gosh, you decorate for all these famous people. You must have studied. No. I didn't wake up one morning and say, hey, I want to be a Christmas decorator. It was really totally, truthfully, an accident. Okay. My intentions originally were to be a movie star, a publicist, and I can't even remember what the third was. And what happened was I fell into this business. I mean, I naturally liked Christmas to begin with. And I was doing a lot of survival work in New York and here, just working in retail stores, putting up things. And it got started when I was working in Macy's in New York in the 1980s. And they pulled me out of pantyhose. Can you imagine me selling pantyhose? Anyway, and they
yes, I can.
I was like, yeah, you look great. Of course, it was the 80s, so, you know, there was all kinds of wild stuff to sell. Anyway, they pulled me out of pantyhose because they needed help in the Christmas department. And I don't know if anybody's ever been to Herald Square, New York. It's a huge store, and it's a huge display. So I was up there decorating trees, and actress Mia Farrow happened to walk through. And she said, wow, I wish somebody would do that in my house. Well, I was in my early 20s then, and, you know, straight off the boat or the tractor of the Midwest. And, you know, I was like, oh, I can come to your house and help. I can come to your house and help. So I did. And I just started to get myself hired in New York every Christmas just as survival work. Eventually, I moved with my business partner, Debbie Starrin, whom I met in a commercial acting class in New York. She said she was going to California. And I said, well, I want to go too. I'm tired of being cold. So we ended up in LA. I ended up getting a job working for Paris Hilton's mother, Kathy Hilton. I'm sure anybody watches The Housewives knows Kathy. And everyone knows Paris. So we started working for Kathy, and Kathy was really instrumental in getting me introduced to LA, because one day she pulled me aside. She said, you want to make it in this town, kid, you watch me. And so I learned a lot at, you know, Boot Camp Hilton. And along with Kathy, I had a lovely mentor. There was a woman there by the name of Connie Pentic. And, you know, she was just the epitome of that gracious woman who just lovely, did everything beautiful. She ironed her sheets. Okay.
Oh, wow.
You know, that kind of woman. And she taught me a lot about polishing and how to talk to people. And so I have to thank a lot of my inspiration for all the mentors that were presented to me along the way. And I was very lucky. I mean, I tell people I've had people who are very famous, people who are not so famous, but everyone has helped me. And one of the early side notes of this was I got to do a job for actress Lana Turner back in the 90s. And this was a year before she passed. And she was she had throat cancer and wasn't doing so well. And her daughter hired me to come over and decorate her condo. And I'll never forget this. And this has been the secret. And I tell everybody who comes to LA, this is the secret to success. She looked at me and she said, so kid, how'd you hear about me? You know, she's smoking still, you know, and looking beautiful. I mean, she was done. I mean, she was MGM star. Okay. And I said, well, I know who you are. You're a famous actress. She says, no, kid, how'd you hear about me? And I said, well, actress Debbie Reynolds kind of introduced us. And she goes, really? And she goes, and what did Debbie say? And I went, whoop, 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 uh-oh. And I went on with something. I know I said, oh, you're a beautiful actress and I would be really great to work for you and whatever I was telling her, because I was young and I was like on the spot. And then afterwards, I remember she put her cigarette down and she had the most beautiful manicure. And she looked at me, she pointed to me and she says, you know what, kid, you're going to make it in this town. You know why? And I was like, no, Miss Turner, I don't. She goes, because you know how to keep your mouth shut. And I will never forget that,
Wow.
and it was one of those launches into this really surreal career that I have. I mean, the bottom line is I didn't plan this. There's no training other than physical, experience. I mean, I did get to work with a lot of famous window dressers in New York, which were horrible, horrible, mean people, but I learned a lot.
Yeah.
So I always tell people who are starting out, even in the most difficult situation, you can learn something. And there's a reason that you're there, and pay attention, because all of this stuff that goes around it you'll forget about it later. But what will stick is the fact that you learn from the best. Sometimes that comes with a cost. Everything comes with a cost.
Yeah.
But you do learn a lot. And at the end, you'll be very happy and, as you say, joyful that you learned it.
Yeah.
I know that was a really long-winded explanation, but there you
no,
go.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it. So talk to me about what exactly you do. You go in, you do decorating, and this is in homes, but isn't it also on sets as well, movie sets?
Well, what I do is, okay, Debbie and I started this company a long time ago. Number one thing was I got tired of people saying, oh, I hate Christmas. Oh, Christmas is coming. And, I've always loved Christmas. And originally the company was designed to give people their time back. That's how it started. And so when we went into people's homes, that was my motivation. How can I create an experience for you? Now, I am not going to say that I'm the world's best decorator. I mean, there are far better designers than me. But what has been my success around that is that you walk in, you give them the whole interview, you make them feel comfortable that strangers are coming into their homes and that they trust you to come in and not damage everything. And it's the experience of safety. It's the experience of you do beautiful work. It's the experience of you're pleasant to be around and you're very respectful. So there's a lot of that goes on. And the film work and everything branched out from that, because what happened was I started to acquire so much Christmas stuff that I was paying for storage. I thought, well, this is ridiculous. I should be making money on this stuff while it sits there.
Yeah.
And so I opened a prop house back in the early 90s, and that got us our foot in the door after joining the Set Decorator Society. And then people started coming to me to do Christmas for the very same reason, because people in the film industry, it's a hurry up and wait business. And the set designer or the art director doesn't have time for what they call the minutia of little pieces of Christmas, because Christmas is a lot of little pieces. So
Right.
if I can come in and do the job and they walk in and they love you, most of the time they just say, Bob, I know this is what they want, do it. Don't bother me. I'm going to lunch. and I like doing it. I love working on film sets. So that's kind of how we got started there. And the whole series of this career is not knowing the result, because I never knew that this would lead to this, that this would lead to this, this would lead to this. It always came to me as an idea of, oh, well, I should do this. Oh, that sounds fun. And the number one thing with me is I always say it needs to be fun for me.
Yeah.
Especially at this point in my life. I want it has to be fun. I don't want to be around all of the quote unquote negativity of Christmas anymore. I just want it to be fun. So and trust me, Christmas is an ugly business.
Well, and okay, so I want to talk about, you mentioned that like you love Christmas, and this was one of your things, is you wanted to bring this back. What is it that you love about Christmas? Does this go back to being a kid? Is it something that emerged as you got older? I would love to hear about this.
Well, I was really lucky. My Christmases as a child, I had great grandparents and family. I mean, we had a fairly decent side. I had like 9 cousins, and or there's 9 of us, so I had 8 more. No, 7 actually, and a sister. Okay, see, I can't add. I'm not good at math. they're all like probably watching going, really? Anyway, I had great grandparents. And, because they had come through the Depression and the war and all that stuff. So when Christmas and the world finally turned around, they made it a really big deal. And so every year, Christmas was a big deal with our family. I mean, it seems so quaint now. The kids don't get to know the experience of looking forward to this. And everything from going to the American Legion Christmas party. And they're probably asking, what's the American Legion? It's all that the kind of stuff. It was everything you saw in the Wonder Years. We grew up with that whole Rudolph and Santa Claus and Charlie Brown Christmas, and it's a really cool time. And it's a little disappointing nowadays because kids are so exposed. They get everything every single day now. And I've been in situations where presents are still unopened, like the first week of February, because they got bored opening them. And I was like, wow. But for me, it was just magical. I mean, it was a time that you got to redecorate your house. You got to pull out all the cool stuff. You got to see a lot of your family in a happy situation.
Yeah.
And so that's what I attribute to it. And a lot of it was, I will be honest, it's escape.
Yeah.
I was raised in the Midwest in Michigan. So that time of year, it's always cloudy, gloomy, cold. School is in session, and I hated school. So
that does not surprise me. That does not surprise me.
I don't like anything that tells me I have to do something.
Right.
So that's kind of how it built from there. And that element of my upbringing still shows up in my work.
Yeah.
Now that look has an official look, it's called mid-century or retro. It's a specific look people ask for now.
Okay. So you're actually leading into my next question is, how do you pick like a style for people? Like you go in, I mean, some people like this look or this look. My mom was all about the snowmen, right? So everything was snowmen everywhere. How do you frame that, and like how does it go from there? Like you're talking to me who's the non-decorator type, right? So like how does this formulate? How do you bring it to life, and how do you work with people on their vision?
Okay, and this is one of my gifts, okay, that I'm able to get people excited about what's going to happen. Okay. How it works is you would call me and say, oh, I don't want to do my Christmas this year. Now that could be a multitude of reasons. It could be A, your kids are finally grown and you get to have the Christmas you want. Or B, you're just too busy working, you don't have the time, but you really want this to happen, Or often or not, it's just that people want to treat themselves to their own Christmas gift and basically get their time back. So I would come to your house and I would ask you a series of questions like, is this, basically, is this for you? Do you want it to match your home decor? Do you have a particular element of your past you want to have happen? Or you just want to show off? Or is this a party? And I get the intention behind the decor because nobody needs Christmas decor. Okay. It's not a necessity to live. However, and people would disagree with me on that, the real Christmasaholics. But I mean, between a bag of groceries and a Christmas ornament, we're going to need the bag of groceries first. Okay. So I am selling a luxury. Okay. And so you have to sit down and make you feel like I always tell people that I come in, we do everything, we set up and we take it down and put it away. And the takedown is really what sells the job because nobody likes to take it down. And you get to sit back and have a glass of wine, a hot chocolate, go shopping and just say, look, isn't this fabulous? And a lot of people, that is very appealing. And then we'll start to talk a little bit about what do you want to spend? Now, I'm not one of these, and corporations really dislike working with me because I'm not one of these that, give me a bid, we'll look at your bid, I don't have time for that. So I just basically said, what do you have to spend? I'll tell you what I can give you for that because it's so much easier. And so we establish a budget. And generally, this is how I say it. I go, well, do you want a Honda, a Lexus, or a Rolls Royce? Nobody wants the Honda, And they're a little afraid of the Rolls Royce. So generally, it falls into Lexus category. Not, but I try to, and I don't, people think because I decorate for a lot of celebrities and stuff that I'm way too expensive and this, that, and the other thing. I don't really turn people around. I have a series of people that I work for that just make me dinner. I have this older couple that helped me get started. And she called me, she says, I don't know if you want to do this for me anymore, because I said, sure, if you make me your Christmas meatloaf, I'll be there. So,
Bob, that's so beautiful. This is okay. I just said, like, this is one thing I love about you so much. Like, you've got one of the most generous hearts. I could almost get emotional about this. And I just need to let people know, like, when you were helping me with these clothes for this photo shoot, video shoot I had to do, literally, you and I are on FaceTime in the middle of a Kohl's department store in Grand Forks, North Dakota, and you're like, okay, hold up the phone here, hold it. And I mean, I could have, I got in the parking lot. I actually think I did cry in the parking lot because I had just felt so lost and so alone in the middle of this pandemic, trying to pick out these clothes. It's not my skill set at all. And you were just right there with me, and you're just like, Deb, hold up this. Deb, hold up this. Deb, go try this on. Don't take me in the dressing room with you, of course.
Well,
but we had a blast.
Pre-pandemic, I would have thrown you in a dressing room and made you stay there for hours and thrown stuff over the door at you. Like, what the God?
But your heart, like, I could feel you genuinely cared about me finding the right outfit. You genuinely cared about my success too. And I believe when you're talking about these accountings of going to people's home and the Christmas meatloaf, like, this is you, right? Like, this is your heart. And I just really wanted to acknowledge that for you, because you are such a beautiful person, Bob. Your heart is just so beautiful.
Oh, well, that's very kind of you. I mean, I especially when something like Christmas is important to me, I don't want people to go without, Yes, I do have the other end of the spectrum, where there's a lot of money, great money expense. But even on that end of it, the people want something that makes them feel something.
Yes.
And a lot of people will say, well, they're throwing money at emotions and things like that. They may. I said, I don't question people's reasons for doing things. The end of the result is they want something that makes them feel good.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
and I don't discriminate against people if they, obviously are not in the Beyonce category, because truthfully, the fact of being able to have this woman's meatloaf, which is really good. I'm going to be selfish there. I mean, it's good food. Okay. And she and her husband are just really darlings. They're just lovely old people to talk to and stuff like that. So older people, I should say. I shouldn't say old, But
it's all good. We're moving into that category. We are moving into that category very gradually, right?
I don't know who you're moving with, but no, well, I haven't.
Okay. Listen, my son told me the other day, he was talking about somebody in their 40s to 50s and called them old farts. I'm like, excuse me? I am older than that. You're talking about me. Yeah. Are you kidding me?
I know. Isn't it fabulous? It's just,
oh my gosh. I just had to smile. Okay. So there are a couple more things we have to talk about. Talk to me about, like, what has been, like, one of your favorite decorating projects, or one of your favorite, like, you're just like, oh my gosh, I just can't wait for this one.
Oh, well, I love doing film sets. It's one of my favorite things, because we worked on Elf, and we've done Polar Express. We've done Christmas with the Cranks. We've done a lot of Christmas movies, and a lot of Hallmark type of things. And it's, that to me is I have to be guilty of, that's my favorite. But see, that taps into my wanting to be an actor, and I love to work on film sets. I love that. That is always really fun to me, because you're creating, I don't know, temporary magic for something that's really going to get widespread. But I generally get excited when it's an interesting building I get to decorate, because it a lot of times it's for architecture, or some of these homes are magnificent, or some of these buildings and public spaces that you get to decorate, like the Hollywood Museum. It's the old Max Factor building. That's where Marilyn Monroe and Judy Garland and all the people got their thing together. And it's this really cool building that is fun to decorate. I mean, the least favorite is decorating a bank. I can't tell you why is the bank is the most unemotional, uncreative space on the planet. And it's
And you bring
probably
your
purposeful
magic.
for that because, it deals with a whole nother energy. But every time I go to a bank, they're like, oh, we want to make this warm and make it Christmassy in here. I said, it's a mausoleum. It's a square box of marble. Sure, we'll see what we can do here.
I could totally hear you saying this too. Like I can just totally hear you saying, this is what this is.
As you know, I'm very direct.
Oh, yes, you are. I love it.
I will tell you, sometimes, as you know, with working with Rick and Chuck and Produce You, they'd always go, you said what? What you said?
Hey, we're doing a great job, though. We're keeping it in the Christmas clean day. We're doing good. So let's talk about upcoming projects because you've got a major event coming up. Let's talk about it.
Well, we're doing. They're having a big Christmas con. It's like Comic Con, but for Christmas fanatics. Okay, and it's going to be in Pasadena, and it's going to be like 20,000 people coming. It's a big deal for anybody who loves Hallmark. It's essentially a Hallmark fan show. They're going to have like over 60 of their favorite Hallmark actors going to be there, and there's going to be some fun people there too. Like Barbara Eden's going to be there for My Dream of Jeannie. Now Barbara's in her 90s, and she looks fabulous. She and Jane Fonda to me they show you how to do life right because they just have this energy that is incredible. And so we're going to be doing all the decor for the holiday part of it. But in addition to that, we're also going to do the fun things like judging the ugly Christmas sweater competition, and we're going to be doing panels. I'm going to have a couple on show you how to do some things at home decorating wise, but also doing things on I have a class called So You Want to Be a Decorator, which is sitting down with people who always aspired like, oh, that sounds fun. And when people come to me and that's the first thing they do is say, oh, that sounds fun. I always look at them, I go, you might want to think about it then, because if it's something that you truly find joy in, I'm going to have to give you a couple warnings about it, because one of the things, I still love Christmas, but Christmas is a business for me, in all honesty, right now. So if you're doing it as a hobby, I say don't do it because it'll ruin it for you. Because you'll never be able to walk into anywhere without finding something wrong. And and that energy behind it in business is fine because you're there to do a job. But when it's the experience of Christmas, if you can't walk in and just be overjoyed by what you're seeing, and all you see is that there's a light burn out or the bow is crooked. One of my elves, he's the greatest guy. One is the first year he worked for me. I told him all this. He goes, it doesn't matter. I love Christmas so much. I said, okay. And he came to me later. He says, I was in the grocery store and I noticed that they didn't fluff their garland and the lights were bad and the bow was wrong. And I said, yes. And he goes, and I went and told them. I said, and how did they receive you? And he goes, well, they just nodded at me like, I said, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's like they don't care.
No. Oh my gosh. I love it.
It's an interesting thing. So anyway, that's when anybody comes to work for me. I try to create it as much fun as possible, but I don't disguise it because it is work. It's a lot of physical work and it does take time. And some of the tasks are kind of tedious because, when you're fluffing garland and getting everything to look right, it takes some time. But, the result is the reason for it,
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. Well, and I know that on your website, you've got amazing photos of some of the work that you've done. And I know there's also a link that Jocelyn's going to be putting in the comments first for people who want to check out Christmas Con. This is the first time I had heard about this event. So it sounds like there's sessions. People can come do meet and greets. They can take some
Yes, there's a lot of pictures and autograph shows. And it is relatively new. The young ladies who started it, That's for Entertainment, they started it a couple years ago, pre-pandemic, and they had such a success with it in New Jersey. It started in Edison, New Jersey, and so they wanted to come to the West Coast, and and they hired me because the aesthetic is different in Pasadena, California, and Edison, New Jersey. So there is a difference in the people that the deal. So they wanted it to be a bit more Hollywoodized.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I mean, we're right in the middle of Hollywood, so that's why they hired me. And I'm like, I I find it amazing that I'm the go-to guy for all of this stuff now. And I position myself, I guess, for it. I'm still surprised when people call me. But,
Yeah.
did you happen to see me on the Brady Bunch thing last year?
No.
Oh my gosh. I have to tell you this real quick.
Yes, tell us about it. Tell us about it.
Stuff for HGTV. And everybody probably who's a fan of that watched the Brady Bunch had a big renovation. They essentially what they did was they bought the house in the valley that they used the exteriors for, not the interiors. The interiors of the show was on a set at Paramount. Well, what they did was they gutted this house and made it look like it did on the set from the TV show. And it was the most remarkable thing. You can see these pictures on my website if anybody wants to go. And I was asked to do the Christmas show. It was the most surreal experience walking into your childhood. I mean, you literally was like walking into your TV set. And there are the Bradys. And, I got to work with all of them. They were really fun. And it was a really cool experience. Those are the kind of things that kind of in keeping with joy bring me joy now, because, I mean, that's my childhood. And, the funny moment was when we were standing out front and they were doing the exterior shots, all these people had gathered to see the Bradys. Well, all of them came out, and the people were watching. And I said, "Are you enjoying it?" She said, "Yes, but I'm waiting for the Bradys to come out." I said, "Those are the Bradys." They tend to forget that their combined age is 900 years old now. They were still looking for the kids. I'm like,
oh my goodness. Oh, that's great. Well, it's kind of, it's funny how all this stuff starts coming full circle, right? Like how you get to now come back to this place, and I am going to go look at those. I mean, now that you're saying this, like, oh yeah, I think I did maybe look at those. What I love about you too is that how you bring things to life. Like you take these things and you bring it to life. And I love that about you. And I was just sitting here thinking about, like, what is the legacy of Dr. Christmas? What is the infinite game of Dr. Christmas? Like, if you think about each day you get up, you go do these things. Yes, there's this, okay, I've got to get this job done. I've got to make this Christmas more magical and create great emotions. Long term, like, what is this infinite game for you?
Well, be honest with you, I never thought that far ahead. I was always expecting somebody to catch me. I was always looking over my shoulders like, okay, this is going too great. Somebody's going to grab me and go, no, this can't be happening. And to this day, it's funny, it's kind of open-ended as far as it goes. What I do know that it has done, I mean, I knew that we had made a sense of impact, because I don't know do you remember those tests we used to have taken in high school that tried to figure out what your career was?
Yes.
And how limited everything was, and when we were coming up through school. Well, I got called by the company that does those, and they wanted to add Christmas decorator as careers that the kids could now pursue. And they said, we watched you and we saw that you made such a success of it. We want to add that to our school testing program. And I was like, wow, that, who knew the impact? I mean, but it ranges. Sometimes, like I said, I'm always surprised by it, because one day I got called by Buckingham Palace. Another day I got called by Sylvester Stallone on my cell phone, or I'm getting these random calls and people calling me, or bottom line is I'm always surprised at the impact I've had, because I don't go out of my way. Yes, in my early career, I'm a marketer and, as you know, branding, and had to get the business out there, but I never had a sense that it was going to be sustainable. But I don't think that's true now, because I have so many people that come and want to train under me, so that what we do, they now have opened their own companies, and things have started to go. And I would like the legacy to be, if nothing else, to take the time to create that experience for you and other people, that you can just remember that, as you say, the joy of the season, without being cliche about it, that it's supposed to be a happy time. It just, I have other things on my back burner. I'd love to create. A good friend of mine was a foster kid, and he grew up in a horrible system and horrible circumstances. And I always thought, and he didn't like Christmas because it was always so painful. And I thought, we had talked a while about creating something where you got to bring children and foster kids in and experience what Christmas could be. So, so it wasn't so poisoned by the time that they got to adults. And you'll be surprised at how many people are so I don't know what happened to them, and I feel bad for them because not everybody had my Christmas upbringing.
Yeah.
But if in some way we can somehow at least spark an interest in you now have the power yourself to create it the way you want it to be.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to always rely on memories. I mean, it's a big contradiction because we all know Christmas is about the past. It's always about the past. So in order to have a better past, I say start doing it better now.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. That deserves like a bumper sticker or something. It's like neon sign on that one for
Well,
sure.
you know what I say? Just remember to sparkle because glitter gets you everywhere.
That's right. That's right. Well, Bob, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Joss is getting websites, Christmas con ticket purchasing instructions in the comments for us. And so people can come and meet you. Do people come and ask you for your autograph?
You know, it's so funny. I mean, to quote Kathy Griffin, I always think, but we're on the C list. But, I'm always amazed that people do come up and do that. I mean, I love the Hollywood thing, or I wouldn't be in it, and I tell people I'm at home most on the red carpet having my picture taken. A lot of people, that's horrifying. To me, I just love it. but we can go anywhere in the world now that somebody will say something to me. In fact, you'll have to ask Chuck sometime because we were in Paris on a trip and we walked into the store and he says, "Oh my God." And Chuck is my friend. And I always know when something's gone because he does the big eye roll. And I go, "What happened?" He goes, "Those girls over there at the counter, they're all pointing over here." I said, "Yeah." She says, "They know exactly who you are." I said, "Oh, they don't either. We're in France." So we go up to pay for it and they're all like tittering and tittering. And I go, "Hi." And she goes, "You're that Christmas guy, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes." And she goes, and they were all so excited because they'd seen us on a Christmas special I didn't even know aired in France. And Chuck is like rolling his eyes like, "Ah." So when I get the eye roll from family and friends, I know I've done my job.
I love it. Oh my gosh, I'm going to remember that story next time I talk to Chuck. Because he was always behind the scenes, right? Like he's always on the camera side.
And truthfully, I love my friends and family, and I love that. The bad part of me loves that they're so annoyed by it because it just makes me laugh. And then and the good part about it is, it keeps you very grounded. It's very important to have good friends, especially.
Oh my gosh.
That just
It's so, yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, oh my gosh, I feel like I could talk to you for another hour, but I want to be very respectful of your time. And I'm sure there's something to be designing about Christmas and getting ready for Christmas con for sure.
Is there anything else you want to know, my dear?
Oh my gosh. Well, okay, maybe just two more questions. Okay, so I would love to know, like, when you are doing this decorating, do you have favorite kind of things that you like to use in the decorating? Like, do you have sort of a personal favorite of tinsels, ornament? I mean, I'm curious about that kind of stuff because it's so not my world, right?
Okay, this is there's two ways that I tell people to decorate a Christmas tree. One, you decorate a Christmas tree like you would design a ball gown for a woman, because truthfully, it's all about, a lot of Christmas decorating is about symmetry, because you're dealing with a cone-shaped object, and it's really creating the spaces and the different sizes and shapes. So like, on a dress, sometimes you have a big bow here or you have something on the belt, and you start to visualize it like that. And the other part of it is learning to, my analogy is like casting a film. You have your stars, which are those special pieces that you really love to show off that often create the theme of the tree. Like I tell people, you can create the theme of the tree with one item. You can decorate an entire tree with red ornaments or sparkly red ornaments and put a pair which I got to hold and use one time, the ruby slippers from the Wizard of Oz, and put them on the tree in the middle. And all of a sudden that tree takes on, it's the ruby slipper tree. So you can do that with a lot of different things. So if people are really big on creating a theme, you can start with one item and building there. Sometimes it's done with color. There should always be a color that is a through line through the tree so that it ties everything together. And you can put and people often, it's not a mistake, but it's a misconception that the more you put on a tree, and they say it doesn't look any difference because they're probably buying too many ornaments of the same size. And it doesn't do. So you have to have that dimension and depth in the tree in various sizes, and and try to expand your tree beyond the tree to give it that really full grandeur effect. And there's a lot of different tips. If you come to Christmas Con, I'll be doing some of those that you guys can come see.
I
And
know.
Debbie and I will be there for the entire 3 days, and we'll be wandering around. So we're very approachable. Come up and ask us a question, whatever you want to do. So if you're in the Pasadena area, I strongly suggest you come. It'll be a lot of fun.
Even if you aren't, they can fly in. This is a big deal. I think this sounds exciting.
We have a lot of people coming from the East Coast,
Yeah.
you know, and there's going to be a lot of celebrities things going on. So that's always very fun. And yeah, I'm not, you know.
Well, you are a celebrity yourself. I think, like, I really want to just, I think in your own, like, you're Dr. Christmas, right? For a lot of people, that is a celebrity piece, right? And what I love about that, Bob, is that you've done such a great job branding that and building that, what Dr. Christmas is, who Dr. Christmas is, what Dr. Christmas stands for, that you have created your own character, if you will. Yes, it's you, and you've also branded this character. And I just think it's amazing. I just think you're amazing. And I'm just so grateful. Thanks for spending this time. Any final thoughts you want to share with the audience today?
Don't say so many times on camera. I would be saying. Any final thoughts? Well, you know, the bottom line is with me, you should be enjoying it when you do it, okay? Because there's no reason to go to the expense, the time, and everything if you're not having a good time doing it. Because I keep saying this is supposed to be fun. You know, often we get into situations where you heard the expression, we're not curing cancer here, we're causing it. You know, it's time to look at it and go, are you really enjoying what you're doing? Or find something that makes you happy. And if you don't want to do any of that, just call me. I'll make it happen for you.
Yeah, you can even fly to the Midwest. Okay, no, I'm not committing you to that. That was not, I was just.
Oh, I go, well, the Midwest is still amusing because, you know, I can't tell you how many phone calls in early on when I told everybody, oh, I'm going to California. I only had $300 in my pocket. And I thought, you know, I'm going to make it because there was no question that I wasn't going to. I had no idea. I just knew I was going to do something. But
Yeah.
those frightened phone calls from home, like, you're decorating Christmas trees? What? You know, when I started this, there wasn't that industry. Okay. People looked at you like, people pay you to do their Christmas trees, you know? And that's the one thing I learned about LA from the Midwest. In the Midwest, when you find a deal, it's a good day. In LA, if you don't pay money for things, they don't think you have any value.
Yeah.
It's a whole different mindset of how you do business. So that's all part of the course. That if you're going, especially with the city of Los Angeles, it's a city of dreams. It really is, and it's a great city to make it up, as Rick Tamlin would say, because you can do anything here, and people will believe you.
Yeah.
So it has its pitfalls, as we all know, but there's no other city like it. Not even New York is like this city. So if you have dreams, come out here, be smart about it, pay attention, learn from your mentors, because there will be plenty. And most of all, just enjoy what you're doing, because otherwise go home.
Like, have joy, have fun, or go home, right? Like, isn't
Right,
that
yeah,
at the end of the
that's
day?
right.
I mean, it's so true. And I love that you brought that up today, that, like, if we're not having fun at this stage in our careers and what we're doing, why would we even be doing it? At this stage in the game, we can create, we can dream. And I'm so glad that you dreamed Dr. Christmas up. I'm so glad that you bring the magic of Christmas to people. And just thank you again, Bob, for being here. I'm just so grateful. Thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely, Deb. And it was so great. And I want to give that nod to you, because what you're doing in the world right now is really incredible. And people, I met this girl when I had to drag her to Bent Fork or wherever you had to go to go. I mean, or was it Bent Fork?
Grand Forks. It was so, but you're right. I mean, do you remember I called you? I was so desperate. I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing, and I have to do the shoot and da 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 da. And I was like, I was freaking out. And you're like, my dear, my darling, we have this, you know, and you're just like, you totally got me through it. And we connected, like we just connected, and here we are today.
It was so much fun. And I mean, you know, I sample a day with Deb, and she'd show me. I go, what are you wearing? Don't ever put that on your body again.
I think you told me that one of my shirts belonged on a pillow. And guess what? It went to the donation thing the next day. You know, I just have to tell you, the Clothing Depot thanks you. I cleaned out 3 bags of clothes after my meeting with you because I was like, oh my gosh, he is so right. I just needed someone to say it to me. Like, I knew it, but I needed Bob to say, Deb.
Well, Deb, it's recognizing that you're valuable, and not every piece of clothing is worthy of you. Okay.
Thank you.
That's how you don't need to take it personal. You actually have to look at things and go, what, like I do with everyone, what are you trying to create? What is it that you want people to know? And clothing is one of those things that you can do that. And we're all a little lazy sometimes, myself included, of like, oh, I'll just throw on a black t-shirt. Well, and I do, because I'm a little lazy on it myself. I will, full confession, but I like the color black, and there is a practical reason for it. One, it's simple, I don't have to think about it. But the other reason is I'm around so much color all the time that when we're on stage with a Christmas tree or do anything, I don't need to compete with the Christmas tree. You know, so there are some aesthetics around it, but mostly it's because it's so easy just to pull another black t-shirt out every day. Because I held up to Jocelyn today, I held up 2 black shirts and go, this one or this one?
Well, notice I'm wearing black too.
I love you, my people.
Well, okay, now one more thing before. Okay, I'm just laughing. Do you realize we've now said goodbye 3 times? That is such a Midwestern thing.
I know it is, and we never go.
I know, it's like, okay, goodbye. Okay, wait a minute, goodbye. Okay, now we're goodbye. So
my friends and my sister wait till I'm out the door before they leave, because otherwise they sit in the car and wait for me.
It is so, and it is such a Midwestern thing. Like, I caught myself doing it the other day. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just did the Midwestern goodbye. And it's like, I can't, it is a thing. It is a real thing.
It is a real thing.
It's a real thing. Okay, so for realsies, Bob, thanks so much. Christmas Con just around the corner in August. We've got details going in. We've got your website going in. And hey, this is your chance to go meet Dr. Christmas. Bob, thanks again for joining us today. You have completely filled my life with joy today. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Deb.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Bye, everybody. We'll be back next week for your Summer Infusion Series of Joy. This is Deb McGregor, reminding you to live, share, and lead with joy.